Now time to talk a little MMA. We bring in the host of Ringside Report Radio here on TSN 690 Wednesdays and Friday nights at 11 p.m. You can also check him out on twitter.com/DaveSimonMMA. The website, of course, is ringsidereport.net. He was watching UFC 155 last night, and he'll be up at 2 in the morning watching a Japan MMA card as well, early morning. It is Dave Simon.
Yeah, what a beatdown Cain Velasquez put on Junior Dos Santos last night.
Was it disappointing? Did it live up to the hype? What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it definitely lived up to the hype. It was a great fight. It went 5 rounds. No one was expecting it to go the distance. The first time they fought...
I remember your thoughts. You said, no way.
Yeah,
no way.
Of course. Junior Dos Santos knocked him out in 64 seconds in November of last year. This time it went all 5 rounds. Velasquez dominating Dos Santos, got one back on him. They're even at 1 fight apiece now, and they've traded the UFC heavyweight championship back, and now Cain Velasquez, a 2-time UFC heavyweight champion, he won all 5 rounds on all 3 judges' scorecards, a unanimous decision victory for Cain Velasquez. He was able to take him down and beat him up, out-striking and out-wrestling and out-cardioing Junior Dos Santos. Unbelievable takedown relentlessness shown by Cain Velasquez. He just kept coming and coming and coming at Junior Dos Santos and taking him down over and over again. And Dos Santos tired out and got beat up badly last night by Cain Velasquez.
Now, Dave, these two guys have gone at it twice now. Does this set up maybe a rematch and a part 3, or are these guys going to move on?
I think no doubt they'll fight again. I think, you look at these guys. Cain is 30 years old. Junior Dos Santos is 28 years old. They're not going to retire anytime soon. And you look around at the heavyweight division right now, these two guys are far and above the 2 best. The only guy that I think comes within their league right now is a man by the name of Alistair Overeem, who is the Strikeforce champion, a K1 World Grand Prix champion, and an absolute monster with great striking ability. Overeem will fight Antonio Silva in his next bout in February, and if he beats Antonio Silva, I fully expect him to get a shot at Cain Velasquez, and that be the next fight for the UFC Championship, Overeem versus Velasquez. But if the same Cain Velasquez that we saw last night shows up against Overeem, I believe Cain will win that fight. Should be a great fight, though, and I think that it will happen and it should happen. But I definitely see Junior Dos Santos, Cain Velasquez fighting again and maybe again and again, as I expected them to fight several times throughout their career. Just seeing them the first time, you knew it wasn't over after a 64-second knockout, and you just had the feeling that, well, these guys are so good and so much better than everyone else, they'll just wind up fighting each other several times throughout their career. This is a rivalry that is far from over.
Yeah, and that's really what makes a division in any sport, whether it's boxing or UFC or regular team sports, is the rivalries. 2 guys at the top of the category going back and forth. This is a football show, and mostly on Sundays we talk, football, but you remember the Cowboys and Niners going at it in the 90s and all that kind of stuff. So that's what sells. And so, Dave, elsewhere on that card yesterday, anything else come out or jump out at you that you thought, wow, that was a hell of a fight? And I can't wait to see these 2 guys go at it again, etc.
Yeah, Joe Lozon and Jim Miller, the co-main event, was unbelievable. It won the fight of the night, $65,000 for each man. Lozon was a bloody mess. Pretty much the first 2-3 minutes into that fight, he got cut open in a nasty way, but kept coming, kept fighting. A brilliant battle on the ground. These are 2 guys that are jiu-jitsu black belts, and they went at it and showed exactly why. They're lightweights. They're 155-pounders, 2 of the very best in the world, and they went to war last night. It was a crazy fight. It was just unbelievable. The canvas was just soaked with their blood after that fight. It was insane.
Now, what do? Do they have like a new floor that comes out for the next fight, or how does it work?
You mop it up as best you can, you move on. You can't put a new floor in. Yeah. It's going to take forever.
Maybe they have sheets or something, that they put down, they tack down. I don't know.
Nah, it's fighting. There's going to be blood spilled on the canvas.
So what was decided in that fight, essentially? Is anything decided, or you still know that these two guys are good moving forward?
Yeah, they're both good. I think basically it kept Joe Lozon out of the top 10 in the division, and it kept Jim Miller in the top 10. Miller's a guy, I think we have him in our top 10 at about 8 or 7 or 8 in that range. Lozon's just on the peripheries of the division, but not quite in the top 10. And I think that's exactly what happened. It kept Lozon out of the top 10 and further away from title contention, and brought Jim Miller, a step closer, but it's still going to be another couple of wins before you really start thinking about Jim Miller as a potential title contender. He has fought the current champion before, Benson Henderson, and he got destroyed by Benson Henderson. So I think it'll be a few more fights in there for Jim Miller. The judges scored it 29-28, all three judges scoring it a unanimous decision for Jim Miller.
You agreed?
No, I scored it the other way. I had it for Joe Lozon. I had Miller for sure winning the first round, but I thought Lozon won the second and third round. Very, very close fight, though. I could see how the judges gave it to Miller, but I thought Joe Lozon won that fight.
Did Lozon put up a big fight afterwards about it?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, he wasn't upset about it. I mean, he put up a great fight in the cage, but afterwards it was all smiles and just respect. It's such a close fight that I wouldn't even put up a big fight about it. Like I'll discuss it on Wednesday when we talk about the whole pay-per-view on Ringside Report Radio, but it's not something that is completely disgusting, and it's not like the judges were foolish to think that Jim Miller could win that fight. It was a very close fight. The judges did screw up, though, earlier on in the fight, in the night, rather. Melvin Gillard and Jamie Varner had a fight. Varner wound up winning via split decision, 30-27. I thought Varner won the fight actually 29-28, but one judge scored it 30-27, all three rounds for Melvin Gillard, and that made absolutely no sense. Joe Rogan even said on the broadcast that whoever that judge was that gave it 30-27 to Gillard should never judge again.
Now, Dave, as is customary when we have these pay-per-views, I always ask you about Dana White's thoughts at the press conference afterwards. Any interesting thoughts from him in regards to the pay-per-view?
No, I think he was happy with it. He basically said that Junior Dos Santos put up a great fight. Cain Velasquez is an absolute monster, and that Overeem is possibly next. He's got to get through Antonio Silva, and that's pretty much next. The only big news that came out of the post-fight press conference was that Anderson Silva, the UFC middleweight champion, at 37 years of age, I think he may be 38 or almost 38 now, but the champ, the greatest fighter in the world, has signed a new 10-fight contract with the UFC.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. Is this a guy that has suffered many injuries in his career? I would think not if he's ready to go 10 more fights.
No, he's been relatively healthy for most of his career.
And a good company guy as well. So good for him
good
on getting rewarded.
Guy, great fighter, and, to think that Anderson could beat the next 10 men put in front of him is not out of the realm of possibility. The guy's the best.
He is Dave Simon. RingsideReport.net is the website if you want to check out podcasts from previous shows. As Dave mentioned, he'll be live here on TSN 690 this coming Wednesday, 11 o'clock. That's a live show?
Yes, live show on Wednesday night. We'll recap the UFC that went down last night and talk to you about the kickboxing tournament and the big dream event tonight in Saitama, Japan. A huge, huge event that I know you don't care about, but it's very exciting stuff.
I'm curious to see a guy go 4 fights in one night. That is crazy. I agree with that.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.